All right, so there's like less than a minute to go now. I just tapped out. I'm over it. So that was pathetic. That was one of the most pathetic losses I've ever seen from a team that's basically playing for their lives. That not even basically. That is playing for their lives this season. And the Cavs come out, score 1 point in the opening couple of minutes from a free throw. The other one he missed. I think it was Mitchell was the one that ended up scoring that free throw. Knicks jump out to a 9-1 run from the opening tip. It was just like from the get-go. It was just Knicks. Let's see here. 9-1. Yeah, so I was right. 9-1 when the Cavs took their first time out of the game with 10:06 to go in the first quarter. So not even 2 full minutes into this game, the Cavs were down, and they got it back to tied and took the lead maybe once, and then that was it. And then the Knicks went on yet another run, got it back to 9, and it kind of sat there for a while. Knicks would pull away, Cavs would kind of pull it back, Knicks would pull away, Cavs pull it back, and then the Knicks finally pulled away here at the end, and they're still pouring it on here. Right now, Knicks has gotten 121 with like a few seconds left in the game here. Yeah, it's just over. This is not even like, of course there were moments where the Cavs could have won this game. And there were moments where the Cavs could have won game 1 and especially game 1. But there were some, not very many, but there were some moments in game 2. That's why I really didn't make a reaction. It was just kind of like a rinse and repeat type thing from exactly what I talked about in the first video of the series. It was just kind of a rinse and repeat thing, except it went on for 4 quarters and not like 7 minutes. That game, Jalen Brunson did not have a very good game. I was just over complaining about the same things that I was complaining about in game 1. And honestly, for the entire playoff run the Cavs have been on, I was just over complaining about it. And yet again, the Cavs really didn't get that much out physical today. How many points did what's his face have? Mitchell Robinson only had 2 points today. That was the guy that everyone was talking about was going to be an X factor in this series. He had 2 points for 3 rebounds today in 9 minutes. He was a -4 today. Not much of a factor. Obviously, the Cavs benefited from Mitchell Robinson being on the floor today. And, you couldn't get anything going. Dean Wade was a -1. Jared Allen was a -14. Evan Mobley was a -21. James Harden was a -8. Donovan Mitchell was a -22. He, I want to say led the team, but was the worst when it came to plus-minus on this entire Cavs roster. When we say we're going to expand the rotation and then, there's some growing pains, yeah. Kenny Atkinson was talking about in game 1 how we were going to extend this rotation back to Keon Ellis and Thomas Bryant and all those other guys. Not necessarily like a guy like Larry Nance Jr. or Craig Porter Jr. or anything like that. But, that was just kind of what we all thought was going to happen. And Larry Nance, Tomlin, Thomas Bryant, Craig Porter Jr., Keon Ellis, and Tyrese Proctor all did not play today. Now, some of those guys are obviously not going to play in unless it's a blowout favoring the Cavs. And even then, when they did play in that one playoff game, I think it was the Detroit series, and Detroit pulled it back, and we had to sub in our starters again at the very end of that game. So there's a reason why those guys don't play very often. But a guy like Keon Ellis or even Thomas Bryant to maybe even get in there and get a few minutes, so be it. Like, you were down 2-0 and playing for your life in this season. You gotta go, man. Like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players on the Cavs did not play today. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Only 5 players didn't play on the Knicks. But yet again, they're the ones that are now up 3-0 in this series. They're the ones that are fresher. You know, they're coming off of a 6-game series in the first round and a 4-game sweep last round. You know, the Cavs are coming off of back-to-back Game 7s, and they are clearly gassed. You know, this is a team that has been through multiple wars so far in this postseason, and the Knicks are clearly the better team. It's to a point where you just kind of, as a Cavs fan, you kind of just have to tip your cap and be like, okay. Like, you know, it just wasn't our year. And I know this year was about us getting to this point, but you don't want to get swept. You don't. And I don't think, honestly, I think it might benefit the Knicks to kind of go through a little adversity in this series. You know, lose in Game 4, and maybe the Cavs kind of push you in Game 5, and you probably win in 5 games at this point again. Just like you did the first go-around here when the Cavs and Knicks matched up in the playoffs a few years ago. But at least kind of experience some adversity, because you're going to be in a dogfight with whoever comes out of the West. You know, it's going to be... Right now, if I had to pick somebody, I'd say the Thunder, just because the Spurs are dealing with the injury bug a little bit. Not major injuries, but enough injuries to kind of keep certain players, you know, off the court. The Knicks are going through zero adversity since the end of the third quarter in Game 1. Ever since then, it has basically been smooth sailing for the New York Knicks. And maybe they get shaken a little bit when they figure out that they're not invincible and the Cavs can get one at home. You know, and I don't think it really wouldn't hurt the Knicks to kind of stretch this series a little bit. Maybe, you know, you come off in game, and of course every Cavs fan was basically hoping that the Knicks would come out a little rusty in Game 1, and they did. Just the Knicks, you know, transformed into the Knicks that we were all fearing in that fourth quarter, and the Cavs have never been able to stop it ever since. Jalen Brunson, he had 30 points today. He was 0 from 4 for 3, which is interesting. So basically, all of his points came within the mid-range and up. So, you know, good on the Cavs for holding him off of the three-point line, but, you know, you can't give up 30 points to a point guard when he doesn't shoot a 3 or doesn't make a 3, you know. Mikal Bridges, he lit us up again, 22 points in 39 minutes. Did not hit a 3 again, but this was just a bully ball type game. The Knicks were doing whatever they wanted defensively, and the Cavs just basically gave up late in that fourth quarter. There was a possession where the Cavs basically saw a guy, I forget who it was. It might have been Bridges, but they just basically gave up on it. You know, there was 3 or 4 of them back, and whoever on the Knicks got behind him, and they saw him and just kind of let him get the layup or the dunk or whatever he did there. And it was just like, you're pathetic. You're going to go out like that on your home floor? Do something. You know, I guess, I know it's not the same sport. In hockey, when you get blown out in the playoffs, you go start a fight. And you try and make your presence known for the next game. The Cavs kind of just rolled over and died today. Showed no fight in their home building. You know, Travis Kelce was there with Taylor Swift on the floor there. Courtside is what I'm trying to say. That's what it was. That was the word I'm looking for. Courtside, they were there. Yes, there were New York fans. You could hear them in the broadcast, but that shouldn't matter. You know, you just played a Detroit team that lives a few hours away from Cleveland. You know, you experienced that before. And yes, New York does travel well, and there will probably be videos online of New York fans celebrating inside of Rocket Fieldhouse, or Rocket Arena, I think they call it now. But and outside in downtown Cleveland, there will be videos of Knicks fans celebrating, and it's going to suck and it's going to sting, but you got to take it because the Knicks are just better. They're hot right now, and it just takes that one little flip for a team to get hot and become, a borderline team that you think you can beat, to being an unstoppable team that you have no chance against. And that's where the Knicks are right now. Your only goal right now, since you are down 3-0, it's been well past the final score here. Knicks won 121-108 here. And your only goal here now, obviously, you want to be the first team to ever come back down 3-0 in a series. I don't see it happening, not with this Cavs team. But your goal, if you're not going to do that, if you're not going to come back in this series, is to just not let the Knicks win on your home floor, whether that's Game 4 or whether that's Game 6. If you lose Game 4, that's embarrassing. You get swept on your home floor, and the Knicks go on to the finals and hoist the trophy. You lose in New York. It sucks. Obviously, there's going to be games that you look back on, especially Game 1, where you're going to look back on it and we should have had it. This should be a 2-1 series lead for New York at the very worst. This should still be a series. And New York is running away with it, and that's how easy it can flip. James Harden today didn't have a great game offensively. How many points did he have? He had 19 points today. So not great, obviously. Nobody shot well from 3 today. Dean Wade 0 for 1. Jared Allen didn't take a 3, but he's not going to take any. Evan Mobley was 1 of 6. James Harden was 1 of 7. Donovan Mitchell was 3 of 10. Dennis Schroeder hit his only 3. Max Strus was 4 of 11. This is all from 3 if I wasn't clear on that. Sam Merrill was 2 of 4, and Jalen Tyson was 0 of 1. So nobody shot well from 3 today for the Cavs. And it sucks that this game had to come at home and a crowd that was ready to blow the roof off of that arena. Cavs hit one clutch 3 there. Donovan Mitchell, I think, bricked 1, and the Knicks came back and scored 4 or 5 straight points right there. If Donovan Mitchell hits that 3, that crowd gets really into it, and that shot could have flipped this entire game because the Cavs were at home. I've said this multiple times throughout this entire playoff run. When you're at home, it is so easy to flip momentum. The Cavs have been on the good side of that, and they've been on the bad side of that multiple times in all of the series that they've played in. The Toronto shot that, the arcing shot that came up and in to basically win that game for Toronto. Any game you want to pick that the Cavs lost in Detroit, that happened. Game 1 in New York. Do I need to say anything else besides that? So, that's just is what it is. At the end of the day, you are going up against a team that is really hot and is basically looking past you at this point now because they deserve to. They're up 3-0, and the Cavs just did not do anything to get out of their own way today. The Knicks made some plays, but yet again, it's turnovers and bad three-point shooting that kill the Cavs, and yet again, another playoff series. You've seen it in every single playoff series the Cavs have played in where they lose. And even the series that they win, they look like they're struggling. The only series that the Cavs have comfortably won in this Donovan Mitchell era is the one where in Miami, where we swept Miami, but everyone got injured. Darius Garland got injured and basically set that whole round against the Pacers in motion, and he was never the same as a Cav again. And now he was doing really good in LA with the Clippers. And, the Cavs made a move to go win now, and unfortunately they're not good enough. James Harden's just not good enough. He's not a guy that you can rely on consistently when your star player, Donovan Mitchell, is not playing well, and he has one of these games that he had today. James Harden is not 20. James Harden today is not 2018 James Harden. He's just not. He's not going to get back to 2018 James Harden. It just is what it is. You know, the Knicks are in their prime right now. They're just better, you know. The year to beat the Knicks was the first year the Cavs had against the first time the Cavs played New York. You know, that was the year to beat the Knicks. This is not the year the Cavs could have beaten the Knicks in hindsight, of course. Everybody is going 100-0 when you are, you know, previewing a series here, like in any sport, football, basketball, baseball, hockey, anything. You know, your team is going to go 100-0, and you can find little holes that you can pick at, and some people end up being right, and some people end up being very, very wrong. And this is just one of these moments where, as a Cavs fan, you just gotta say, "Oh well," and shrug your shoulders and eat it. Basically, you just gotta lay back and congratulations, and there's nothing for you to say. You know, there's nothing. You can say, well, if this doesn't go in or that doesn't go in, you know, you're at the very, very best, you're only down 2-1 right now, and the Knicks just retook home court advantage on you. That's the best case scenario, is you're down 2-1 after a win in game 1. Now, does this series look a lot differently if the Cavs hold on and win game 1? Absolutely. Maybe they win this game. I think, honestly, game 2 probably goes the same way that it did. I did not see the Cavs winning game 2. But maybe you win this game in game 3 and you take a stranglehold on the series and you're the one up 2-1. Instead, you're down 3-0 and you got to win out and go to yet another game 7. You know, I don't see it. You know, that if the Cavs did not go to game 7 against Toronto or Detroit, maybe this is more likely. The fact is they did. You know, they're going to get worn out as the series goes along, and I've said it before in the preview in my game 7 post game with in the Detroit series and my game 1 post game reaction with the Knicks series. The longer this series goes on, the more it's going to favor the New York Knicks. You know, the time was now to go get New York, and the Cavs missed their opportunity in game 1. And they just completely didn't show up for game 3. They look defeated. You know, they look like they are still dwelling on that game 1 loss. Kind of like the Cavs were dwelling on the Pacers loss for the rest of that series and then the beginning of the regular season this past year. You know, the Cavs just felt like they were dwelling still on that loss, and it felt like they were waking up to nightmares of that Halliburton shot going in. That's basically what it was, you know. And I'm hoping that the game 1 loss this year does not have that psychological, you know, effect on the Cavs in future seasons, because obviously it's done its damage in this series. It's basically over. The Knicks are basically going to the NBA Finals if something drastically doesn't change here. And, you know, like, there's no LeBron James on this team. There's no Michael Jordan on this team. There's no all-time great on this team. Maybe we look back a few years later and be like, oh, prime James Harden, he was an all-time great. This is not prime James Harden. This is prime Donovan Mitchell, but Donovan Mitchell isn't prime James Harden. You know, he's not prime LeBron James. He's not prime Michael Jordan. He's not prime Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, anybody in that top 10 or top 20 that you want to name. Donovan Mitchell is just not that type of player, and that's no disrespect to Donovan Mitchell. It's hard to be one of those guys. There's obviously, you know, there's some luck that comes to that, but also I don't want to say I just don't want to say anything bad about Donovan Mitchell because he's a terrific NBA player. He's obviously better than the average person on this earth in the sport of basketball. But he's just not one of those guys, and that's what the Cavs really need right now. They need somebody that's going to take over a game and take over multiple games. And right now, Donovan Mitchell just isn't that guy. He is certainly capable of doing that. But against the New York Knicks team that's clearly on fire, and even with Donovan Mitchell scoring, 40 points, 50 points in 3 straight games, do you really think that's going to be enough to beat a New York Knicks team that can catch fire at any moment? 121 they scored today. They scored 109 in game 1 or game 2, and they scored 115 in game 1. So this is obviously their highest scoring game of the series. And that's, you got, as a Cavs fan, you just look back at game 1 in game 2, mostly game 1, but game 2, and you're like, man, we should have gotten at least 1 in New York. And you didn't. And now the series is basically over. And everyone that told you, unfortunately, I was right. I'd said if the Knicks take both games in New York, the series is over. And it's looking like that's going to be the case. I'm not going to come out on here and say that, the Cavs still have a chance, because I don't really see it. I really, really try and be optimistic, but I have to be realistic at the same time. Am I optimistic that the Cavs can push this series to 5 or 6 games? Sure. They got to get lucky in New York, and they got to show up for Game 4. Game 4 is kind of looking like a game that the Cavs might explode in and kind of dominate. But it could very well just be a roll over and die type game. I see it either the Knicks blowing the Cavs out in Game 4 and kind of ending it early, or I can see the Cavs blowing out the Knicks and kind of giving a final bow to the Cleveland, basically. I don't see and then I kind of see the Knicks kind of doing exactly what they did in the first 3 games here in Game 5 and ending this series early, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. The Knicks are just the better team right now. There's no sugarcoating it at all. They're the better team. Offensively, defensively, coaching, they're better, which sucks because, obviously the Knicks' current head coach is a former Cavs coach. But I would take the Knicks coach over the Cavs coach right now. I would. I would probably take Jalen Brunson over Donovan Mitchell. I just would. It sucks, but, that is what it is. Yeah, I got really nothing else here. Just kind of sad way to go out here if you're a Cavs fan, but your goal, if you're not going to take this series and something drastic needs to happen to do that, if you're not going to take the series, at least try to make sure the Knicks don't win this series on your home floor. Make them go win it in New York. Don't make them win it in Cleveland, or don't let them win it in Cleveland, So that would be my final words in this video. Yeah, I'll see you for Game 4, I guess.